First and foremost, I want to say welcome back, friends. Today we will look at all the playable races of Baldur's Gate 3, and to give you a general overview and why to pick a certain race. However, deciding on a race, there are a few things to consider in making that decision, and it depends on the kind of player you are, really. If you like to get the most out of your builds, the choice will be more limited depending on the class you want to play. However, there are still good options across different races, and races that are pretty well rounded to be decent at just about anything. Humans and half-elves come to mind. I personally strongly believe in the rule of cool, and if you like the overall aesthetic of a race, or it fits better in the character you like to roleplay, even if that does amount to not the best stat distribution, I would say still go for it. Let's have a look at each of the races a little closer. So, here we are. Let's start with the elves. So the elves have two sub-races, the High Elf and the Wood Elf, and they both share the same racial features here, or these are the ones they share. Keen senses, which makes them proficient at perception, so they can discover details in their environment more easily. Dexterity +2, which makes them good options for rogues and rangers. Longsword, shortsword, longbow, and shortbow proficiency. Dark vision, which allows them to see in the dark up to 12 meters. And Fey ancestry, which gives them advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put them to sleep. The advantage means that a second dice is being thrown, and the higher value one gets picked. Then to get into the sub-race traits for the High Elf. So the High Elf gets a base racial speed of 9 meters and intelligence +1, which makes it an okay choice for a wizard. On top of that, the High Elf can choose a cantrip from this list here. And a cantrip means basically a spell that doesn't require the usage of a spell slot. You can see spell slots as ammunition for spells, basically. And you can get that ammunition back by taking a long rest. Then there is the Wood Elf. The Wood Elf has actually a base racial speed of 10.5 meters, which is really good. Also has Mask of the Wild, makes them proficient at stealth. And a Wisdom of +1, which makes them a good option for clerics, druids, rangers, and also monks. So next we have the Tiefling. Tiefling has 3 sub-races. The Asmodeus Tiefling, the Mephistopheles Tiefling, I hope I say that right, and the Zariel Tiefling. So the race features they share is Hellish Resistance, which gives them a resistance to fire damage, and also Dark Vision, up to 12 meters. A base racial speed of 9 meters, intelligence +1, and charisma +2 for the Asmodeus Tiefling. He also gets a cantrip, and which is called Thaumaturgy, which gives an advantage against intimidation and performance checks. So, Then there's the Mephistopheles Tiefling. Also base racial speed of 9, intelligence of 1, charisma +2, so that's basically the same, only the difference is cantrips here. It's a mage hand, which is a spectral hand that is able to manipulate objects. Actually, both these tieflings make good options for bards, sorcerers, and warlocks. And okay option for a wizard too, because of the intelligence. Then there is the Zariel Tiefling, which the only difference here is the strength +1, which would be an option for a fighter or a barbarian, for example. Okay, this brings me to the Drow. The Drow have two sub-races, the Seldarine Drow and the Lalt Sworn Drow. These options, they are no different in features. The difference is mainly a role-playing one. The first type here is a Lalt Sworn Drow, so they are actually followers of the Lalt cult, which is a god, or the Spider Queen, she is called. And then there is the Seldarine Drow, who actually is against or in conflict with Lalt, and the other followers of the Drow that follow Lalt. So their race features are a base racial speed of 9, keen senses, so proficient at perception as well, dexterity +2, which is again a good option for rogues and rangers, charisma +1, which is a good thing for bards, sorcerers and warlocks, rapier proficient, short sword proficiency, hand crossbow proficiency, superior dark vision. That's actually, you can see in the dark up to 24 meters, because the Drow are actually used to living in the Underdark, and Fey ancestry, so they have an advantage on saving throws against being charmed and can't be put to sleep, same as their elven kin, which in the D&D handbook they're actually considered a sub-race of elf. So in Baldur's Gate they do them separately. So up next is human. Well, human is a very jack of all trades kind of race. They have proficiency to everything: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, but they don't have any other bonuses, and they also don't have dark vision, which of course is a bit of a trade-off there, but it's a good all-rounder. So if you like playing a human, this is a good option, I'd say. Then Githyanki. Githyankis, they are actually they are from the astral plane. They are not in the D&D handbook. So they're known for their legendary silver blades and red dragon mounts, and they seek total destruction of the mind flayers. This is basically why they are put in this game, because the story starts off with that team. So the race features, the Githyanki have a base racial speed of 9 meters, intelligence of +1, a strength of +2, light and medium armor proficiency, and then all the swords, short, long, and great sword proficiencies, and a cantrip, the Mage Hand. The Githyanki make actually good fighters and barbarians, and decent wizards, I would say. It's actually kind of cool that you can have from the get-go a wizard with medium armor, which is really neat. So that brings us to the dwarves. The dwarves, they have two sub-races, the Gold Dwarf and the Shield Dwarf. They share these race features: Dwarven Resilience, which gives them advantage advantage on saving throws against poison, and you also have resistance to poison damage. Then Constitution +2, which is generally good for all classes in the game. They basically get a bigger hit pool. A battle axe and hand axe proficiency, a light hammer proficiency, a war hammer proficiency, and they also have dark vision because they are used to living under the mountain. The sub-race traits for this Gold Dwarf is Dwarven Toughness, which gives them hit points is increased by 1, and every level they get another 1 hit point. So this is really amazing and makes for a very tanky character. Then the base racial speed is low because of course dwarves have short legs, and it's 7.5 meters, and a wisdom of +1, which makes this a good option for cleric, druids, rangers, and I think paladins as well. Then there's the shield dwarf. Same race features, sub-race traits, base racial speed of again 7.5 meters, strength +2, which is really good for, this is a really amazing option for a fighter, especially with combination of the tankiness and constitution, and also a barbarian, also a really good option for that. The amount of HP combined with one of the barbarians, barbarians get a bonus to this hit points as well. I forgot where that was, but okay, yeah. So really good option for a barbarian. Also medium and light armor proficiency from the get-go, real neat. Then there is the half-elf. The half-elf is sort of a mix between a human and an elf. And this would then be a high elf with a human. So they do get to pick abilities. You can pick a +1 for strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, or wisdom. So you can just choose 2 of these. And you get the charisma +2, which makes them really good bards, sorcerers, and warlocks, and whatever you want it to be here. Also, dark vision is this something they inherited from their elf inheritance, and this is dark vision up to 12 meters, and again Fey ancestry. A base racial speed of just 9 meters, and also like the high elf can choose a cantrip. Then the wood half elf, same here. Fleet of foot, so movement speed of 10.5 like their wood elf part, and Mask of the Wild makes them proficiency at stealth, so that's nice for sneaky characters. Yeah. Then there's also the Drow half elf, so here they are considered elf, and yeah, same here. Base racial speed 9 meters, and then they get the dancing light cantrip. The dancing light cantrip is actually something they inherited from their Drow inheritance, and that helps actually to reveal or to prevent stealth. And they also get a darkness spell and also fairy fire and later racial levels. So that brings us to the halflings. The halfling have 2 sub-races. We have the Lightfoot halfling. First, the race features for both these sub-races. They are lucky, brave, and have a dexterity of +2. Lucky means that they can actually choose to re-roll a die on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. But the thing is, when you re-roll, you have to pick that die, so you cannot choose the die. Brave, that means you have an advantage on saving throws against being frightened. And dexterity would make them actually really good rogues and rangers. They're naturally stealthy, so that leans very much in that rogue character. They have a base racial speed of 7.5, which they share with their dwarves because of their short stubby legs, and charisma +1, which is really nice if you want to go for a bard, a sorcerer, or a warlock. The Strongheart halfling, Strongheart resilience, so they get advantage on saving throws against poison and resistance to poison damage. Base racial speed of 7.5 and constitution +1, which is actually really nice for all classes, so that keeps them pretty general, I'd say. Of course, the dexterity would make them just good at rogues and good at being a rogue or a ranger. And then we have our little friends, the gnomes. They are 3 sub-races quite different from one another. So the forest gnome, actually let's start with the race features again. So base racial speed of 7.5, same as dwarves, same as halflings. Intelligence +2, which actually makes them great wizards. And gnome cunning, which gives them advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. So the forest gnome gets a dexterity of +1 and dark vision as well, because gnomes, some types of gnomes, they do live underground, but these get just the 12-meter dark vision. And then there is speak with animals, so they can communicate with beasts, which is kind of neat and in role-playing sense as well. And I guess there will be moments where you can overcome maybe certain fights this way as well. Then there is a deep gnome, so they live in the Underdark, and same like the Drow, they have this grayish look. They have a dexterity of +1, superior dark vision like the Drow, 24 meters, and stone camouflage, which gives them advantage to stealth checks. These would make a good rogue option actually. Then there is a rock gnome. Rock gnome has a constitution of +1, dark vision, just a regular one, 12 meters, and artificer's lore. That adds twice the proficiency to history checks. They also get like a little music box at the beginning of the game, which plays the Baldur's Gate 3 theme, and you can also sell that box for some extra gold. So, these were the available races to us in early access right now. We also know that there are 2 other races releasing, or according to the community update number 20 and the final panel from Hell: the Dragonborn and the Half-Orc. The Dragonborn bear the unmistakable mark of their draconic heritage, with chromatic and metallic scales. A Dragonborn subrace determines their damage and resistance. For example, the Silver Dragonborn, that's cold damage, and for the Red Dragonborn, it's fire. In Baldur's Gate 3, there are 10 subraces to choose from: black, blue, brass, bronze, copper, gold, green, red, and silver, and white. More subraces than any other race in the game. Your draconic ancestry also determines your breath weapon. Then there's also the Half-Orcs. The Half-Orcs, they do some of the highest weapon damage in the game, dealing extra damage crits using triple the dice. Half-Orcs are also one of the most resilient races in the game, thanks to their key ability, Relentless Endurance. So that means that they are able to beat death once per long rest. This means instead of outright dying when their health is drained, they'll just drop to 1 HP. A smaller addition to the lineup is also the Duergar. This is the 3rd dwarf subrace that will be playable at launch, adding a stoic and subterranean cousin to the dwarven family. These dwarves live in the Underdark and are also called Grey Dwarfs. According to the D&D Player's Handbook, they have innate magical abilities and can become invisible and can temporarily grow to giant size. So I'm really excited to play these new races that we weren't able to in early access. I will be releasing a new version of this video when the game launches, so to include all the available options and just have a more complete overview. I am myself currently still deciding on which race to play when the game launches. I am debating somewhere between Tiefling, Dwarf, Gnome, or maybe Half-Elf. How about you guys? What will you be playing at launch? Feel free to leave a comment about this. I am currently working also on a little video about the last panel from Hell and what I found interesting, so expect that video soon. Subscribe for more Baldur's Gate 3 content, and like if you did, to see how I did. Bye.
Nothing. The console remains dormant.